The time Arturo got Vegeta'd. Okay, so this is when I finally surpassed everything that the street knowledge was trying to tell me, and I finally learned how to have my cake and eat it too without getting into criminal activity by literally being a nice person, being an intellectual, and literally giving people what they want without taking from them. And here's an old saying: when you do something good for somebody, they're going to give back to you, and you're going to receive blessings from God. And if you don't think that way, you're an idiot. Sorry, plain and simple. That was one step closer to me achieving my goal. And that comes from a good heart, and that comes from literally respect your fellow neighbor, and you will be rewarded. So here's what happened. So I get out of the mental hospital, but I get out for the wrong reason. So what happened was this: is I called the police on my family, and they blamed it on me because I had a track record of 5150s. I don't have one recently, but what happened was I learned not to get into black on black crime, not to get into black on white crime. I know you can't trust the police unless you have a lot of ammo. I had some 5150s back then, so it didn't work into my favor. When I tried to call my mom out on misuse of my welfare money and this and that. And so literally what happened was this: it actually worked into my favor that I went to the mental hospital. This is all into my process. But let's back up a little bit. So how did Arturo get Vegeta'd? Here's what happened. It's literally, so what happened was this: I tried telling them that you're a piece of shit, that you don't know what you're talking about, that it goes on and this and that, and you literally don't back it up. You don't know how to fight. You don't know how to do this and that. So here's what happens. It's literally, I tried to tell him, yo, you're fake. You are not with the shit. You are nothing that you say you are. And so Arturo goes, and he walks off thinking he's all cool and shit. I'm like, okay, well, next time, Ariana's got to pay for all your meals. Ariana's got to pay for your weed. Ariana's got to pay for this and that. And so he slows down when he's walking, and he can tell I'm roasting him, but he's going to move on. I still have a whole lot to fall back on. It's just Eric. So I'm like, okay, keep relying on her, you overgrown cum stain. And that's where his mind melted. That's the first of me roasting the fuck out of Arturo. So it got to a point where he thought he was smart. The first time he got me, if you go back to Arturo's manipulation, he literally built up a story to say, I already have bitches on the side, we don't have to get bitches up the mall. So he texted himself and he texted me. In actuality, he was literally texting himself, and he was trying to literally say, yeah, man, this girl is all on me. She's like, oh, Robert, which is his actual name. Arturo's name is Robert, but for the channel, I call him Arturo because it sounds cooler. And so it goes like this. It's like, Robert, I want you to take me to these places. Robert, this and that. The text messages, but I figured out later that he was just texting himself, and he was using that for ammo so he could fake as soon as he got weed. And he was seriously hiding behind that weed, hiding behind that rap, knowing that he's just a random white guy that nobody likes, that he can't go to his parties because he doesn't beg. So I get out of the mental hospital, and I get a whole new fresh wardrobe from getting clothes from the donations. And literally, I get so much shit. I get a Ralph Lauren colorful flannel. I get everything. I got some creative shoes. Everything that I couldn't get in high school, I literally got at the donation from the mental hospital. And I was so mentally prepared. What happened is, as I called those people out, when I went through this thing called CASA, where you're offered, when you can't go back to your family right away, you can go to a mini house called the CASA, and they still give you medication and shit, but it's a little step closer. It's outside the mental hospital because you've been good, but your family still don't accept you. But it was for the better, because what happened was this. They lied to me because it was a place literally just to get money. And literally, they were doing it illegally. There were people who acted like teenagers there. So literally, I called them out. I'm like, why aren't you helping me with my family problem? And I got 5150 again when I tried to get help. And that's always going to happen. You got to understand, people will abuse their position of power. You know why they got me out of there? Because I didn't have a mental condition, and they knew I came from an abusive family. So what happened was this. Is literally, this and that. And even then, I even was texting Abby and shit like that. And literally, Abby was wondering where I was at. And so literally, I get back at the mental hospital, and literally, so Arturo tried to act smart, saying like, well, Eris, don't you think it's kind of bad that you called and this and that, and you still got the confidence? Don't you think you were wrong? I'm all like, I was prepared for that to happen. I was prepared for them to take the white people's side. I was prepared for this and that. And Arturo got shunned. Because he tried pulling that whole shit like, take it into consideration. No, I know the full story now. And even before then, I was signing him over and over and over again. And then literally, I go to this thing like, I know how it is now. I'm like, as soon as cops see what you guys did to me, and as soon as I tell the black cop what you did to me, it's domestic violence. And Arturo got so fucking crazy, he went to the mental hospital, and he had Dabby text my phone like, Eris. And then he waited 3 minutes, he's like, Eris, I knew Arturo flipped because he knows I know about racism now. So literally, I tell him, you treat Ariana like shit, you act like a bad guy, you literally take advantage of the fact that you're irreplaceable. And what happened is, the third day at Abby, I gave her a couple of clothes I got from a donation from the hospital, and she loved it, and she loved everything. So I come at Arturo like, you think you're so gangster? I know exactly how you guys operate. I'm like, I think about my lady even when I'm locked up. No, that sounds extremely gangster, but in actuality, I'm flexing the shit I got from the mental hospital, but this is how gangsters fake success. You see how gangster that sounded, but you know the actuality of the situation? This is how you guys acted. This is why being a gangster ain't shit. So, it all came down to the fact where I was trying to text Ariana to stop spoiling Robert, to stop spoiling Arturo, to literally stop letting him get away with his shitty behavior. And she's all like, Eris, he's a good boy. You learn. And literally what's happening is he doesn't know that he's getting played, that she has multiple options. And I hear story after story that she was on telly, that she was on all these other guys. And literally, I know what the truth is now. I know that Arturo is multidimensional, and she's doing that to let him know he can be replaced, but in reality, he can't be replaced. But that doesn't mean you have the right to abuse it. So it got down to a point where I roasted the fuck out of him, where I told him the full story about how I could have pulled this girl on Lily. He's like, hey, that's my relationship, not yours. And I got him like that. I'm like, oh, really? And this is when the roast truly begins. I'm like, oh, you really think that? The real reason why you don't go to jail for your stupid behavior is because cops feel sorry for you with your short ass. And literally, it got down to a point where there was this time my senior year where there was this gay guy that tried to pick a fight with me on campus. And so I did what I normally do, and at school, he tried swinging at me, and I blocked every single hit with one hand. And what happened was this. So, literally, he tried to pick a fight with me outside of school, and so I beat that fight, but Arturo put me in a no-win situation. Again, I be a gay guy, and literally, he kept on doing that shit over and over and over again. So what happened was, I still got appraisal from that when I shouldn't have, and literally, there was this guy that was literally with Arturo. He's like, Eric beat your ass and you snitched, and that gay guy was literally friends with our girl that I was getting at when I was through high school. And literally what happened was this. So Arturo kept on spamming it, and all the guys in the street. So I was cool with that girl, and she had two other fine friends that I could have fucked it. So I called Arturo out. I'm like, you know what? If you didn't keep on flexing how I beat that gay guy, I would have been able to fuck those bitches. I could have had a threesome with the finest bitches if you wouldn't have done that. And so Arturo was all like, well, you know, there are a lot of girls in the sea. There are a lot of girls in the world. So I don't think 3 is that much of a minus. And so I come at him like, excuse me? You're the one who got stuck with the same Miss Piggy for all that time. That same Miss Piggy, you don't have a single other girlfriend. You're trying to tell me that I lost out on 3? This is literally after I spammed thirst pics to his phone and made him masturbate, literally saying, you are a fucking fake. Racked his fucking mind. Literally, and I continue on. That same Miss Piggy. But you know what? When she tried to pass it to me, I refused. And literally, it racked his mind over and over and over again. And he literally tried to yell. He's like, man, stop it. And so literally, so I knew Arturo got 5150, but I know he lies to his friends, and his friends covered for him in order to keep his reputation. He confessed to me one time, and he's all like, Eris, I know I don't usually confess to you, but I have a mental condition. I'm like, yeah, it's called you're dumb as fuck. You don't have a mental condition, you're just a little spoiled brat. So, me knowing that I'm black and me knowing that he's white, what I did was I infuriated Arturo, and I got him 5150 a couple of times. So what happened was this, like, literally, I roast him, and then I leave, and then he goes to the mental hospital because I don't see him for a couple of days, and I put 2 and 2 together. And literally, so what happened was this, is I roast the fuck out of him, and he's all like, man, I'm about to fight you. I'm like, I wouldn't yell if I were you, because as soon as I leave, you know what happens next. And so literally, as I walk off, he takes his shirt off, and he tries to rush me, and I look at him, and he stops right in his tracks. I'm like, I know you're not trying to bounce out on me. And so he climbs up his window after getting kicked out of his mom's house when he still has his shirt off. And I'm like, yeah, I'm climbing out the window like the little monkey you are. This all happened at the same time. So another great example is the boxer that trained us, name is Wesker. So literally, there was this time where he invited me to a pool with me and Wesker. And so literally, what happened is Wesker hits me hella hard. And I'm like, stop. And literally, Arturo starts laughing, and so I try fighting him. I'm like, it's not fun when it happens to you, huh? So I punch him, and so he punches me back. So what happens is, I get Arturo in the headlock, and Arturo is hitting me with jabs and jabs and jabs, and he can't hurt me. And literally, so I let go of Arturo's head, and so he's like, I'm not scared to fight you. And I'm like, they don't hurt. And he's all like, I'm still not scared to fight you. So I slapped him, and his head shook, and he almost fell into the pool. And so Wesker's all like, hey yo, he did some 8th grade gaslighting. So Wesker did this. He's like, Eris, I want to hold on to him if that were you. Only if I was to knee him in the face, you know. And he was lying the whole time. He's like, but then again, Eris is a grown ass man. He doesn't have to deal with your shit, Robert. So what happens is this. I get out of the mental hospital and literally, I take advantage of the fact that I can't eat fast food. And I literally start working out and I start getting a 6-pack and literally, I come out and I start scaring Arturo with my muscles. So I come back and literally, there was this one time when we were smoking with Wesker and I accidentally grabbed Wesker's wrist and I bent Wesker's wrist in half. And he's all like, oh shit. So Wesker can still beat me to his technique, but he was a little bit rusty, but now I'm officially stronger than Wesker. So I approached Arturo one time and I'm all like, you know Wesker? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, do you know I'm stronger than Wesker? And he's all like, really? I'm like, yeah, I'm a dad, bro. And he starts being scared shitless. So I outdo Arturo and everything. I have better mumble rap. I have better gangster rap. And I have better little crap than him on my iPod. I have hoes and hoes up under Yang Yang. I have everything on top of Robert. And then it literally got to a point where I started doing AMVs for the rappers that he listens to. And he really got Vegeta'd. And that's what happens when you front your entire life. I'm like, what happened to the lovable 4 kids guy? You are still that guy. You are an anime fan in and out. You know why? Because he kept on trying to shove Fullmetal Alchemist dub my throat. And he literally had a crazy ass debate. Arturo was a fake to the fullest extent because when we were playing Storm, I was playing as Hedon. And he's all like, you know, if Sakura would have fought him, he would have cried. She would have cried. And I'm all like, why? He's like, because there's nothing that she can do. It doesn't matter how powerful she is. It doesn't matter how strong she is. And I'm all like, you are an anime fan to the fucking fullest and you are fooling yourself. It got to a point where I was at the group home. And I literally, you know that one scene in DBZ where literally 16 and 18 are watching 17 fight Piccolo and shit? And how they're both moving their blue eyes back and forth. So there was this one time where I told him that I fucked this girl out and moved to Vegas. And so literally, I'm like, oh man, me and this one girl literally went to war on Snapchat, and I'll use street codes because he knows that me and her fucking. So he looks at me and he crosses both eyes, literally trying to fake it. She's like, yeah, that's why she went to Vegas. So I link him at A and B and shit, and literally I link him the 16 part where he's looking back and forth when they're dashing and shit on DBZ. I'm like, you look exactly like this guy, and that was literally destruction for his mind. No matter what he did. No matter anything, I was always on top, and Arturo never got a roast on me again. And even to this day, he still holds on to that street life. And then he ended up to a group home, and he didn't get the same reward because he faked it. I was in a group home for a right reason, and he was in a group home because he was actually trifling. No matter what he did, didn't matter. I was on top, no matter what way you try to look at it. And he literally got destroyed over and over and over again, and it wrecks his mind to this day that I was being a good person and I made out. And guess what? He got caught up with that same girl, that same Miss Piggy, didn't let him get no play anymore, and he ended up going in and out of jail, just like the girl that I sent him, and he didn't change one bit. All because he still wants to hold on to his heart when he's not. He's like, oh, I know the rappers, this and that. I worked with some of the rappers, okay? I'd make AMVs for those rappers, specifically. Arturo got sunned, Arturo got defeated, and the worst of all, Arturo was crying, and it literally got to a point where he tried saying what's up to me after I already established that we're not friends anymore. You know how in bondage, how they melt candle wax on the other person when they have sex. I'm like, all you do is participate in sausage fest and melt dabs on each other. I kept on trying to tell him over and over again. And it didn't matter, man. It was so fucking horrendous. And it sucked to the fullest extent. He's still crying to this day, literally wondering how he's going to make it up to me, but he can't. So he just accepts the fact that he got defeated. He accepts the fact that he's a loser. And he literally doesn't know how many people still like him, how many people do see potential in him, but it doesn't matter. If he continues the street life, if he continues walking down that path until he literally just admits that he needs a handout because he fucked up his criminal record, he's forever gonna be in the same rut.